Hey everyone, welcome in. Today I wanted to talk about a new type of archetype that's kind of showing up in green now with the new set, and it's the Lifegain archetype. It's not huge yet, it's getting there. I think it's a little overlooked, it's a little overshadowed by things like Oichi, Despair, all these new black cards that are going well. Even the slow purple is kind of getting a little bit more recognition. I think Lifegain, since it's a little bit more challenging, I think it's getting overlooked a little bit. I was going to make this a Yawn deck originally. I even put on my Twitter, I put a poll, like, what do you want to see next? I've planned these decks out. It was a Yawn version of the Lifegain. It was a Day of Nightmareless antibody deck, and then it was the slow purple Morgan deck. But I was just browsing things yesterday before I recorded this video, and I saw a lot of hate towards Hyakuretsukyaku. I can't pronounce that very well, I'm sorry, so I'm just going to call it Hyaku. And people were saying this art is unplayable, it's not a good art, Chun Li's only good art is Yawn, and so I set out to grow and make this a good art. And then I saw a lot of things that go with this art. For those of you that don't know, this art gives +1 attack and heavy pierce to a friendly unit. Very cool. There's some new heavy pierce type things that came in this set as well. But let's go over this deck, shall we? Basic 3 wall jump. The Gura Shuffle is a new card. Give +1 life to a friendly unit and your hero gains +2 life. Comes very important with some of the future cards you're going to see, but very good to keep you alive and going. Guardian Sapling, we got a couple sets, or last set, and it kind of hinted at things that were to come. Give all your friendly units +1 HP. Your hero gains +4 life. Again, getting some life gain. This is why this archetype is called Life Game. I run that at 2. You can run it at 3. I'll show you. I'll kind of talk about it in a second. The 7 Soaring Spirits came in the last set as well. If your hero is green, they gain when a friendly unit is placed on the field, randomly distribute a total of 4 points between friendly units' HP and your own life for 30 seconds. So right as you're about to make some big drops, helps your units get buff and you get buff at the same time. Great Deity's Protection. Your hero gains +2 life. Memory 2, your hero gains +4 life. Memory 4, additionally distribute points among friendly units' HP equal to the amount of life restored by your hero. So if you restore 4, you're going to equally distribute 4 to the field. That's basically what this is saying. 4 randomly throughout the units. I run that at 2. This is a card that works with Heavy Pierce. The Meathead Special gives +3 attack to all friendly units with Heavy Pierce. That's field wide +3 for 3 attack if they all have Heavy Pierce, which this deck is built around giving your units Heavy Pierce and then buffing them up. So it's pretty useful in this deck. I've only used it a couple times. Again, so this may get subbed out in the future for another build, but if I do that, I'll let you guys know. I only run 2 layer. Again, she's going to be rotating out soon. You could swap her with Iris. You can swap her with the 3 MP Feline. You could swap her with mana batteries, but she's really cool. She's shield, MP boost +30, plus she does 3 flight damage to a random enemy flight, which is good. One of the new cards, Bell Guardian. So here's where the life gain comes in. So when your hero gains life, give all friendly units +2 HP. Your hero has to gain the life. You can't be at 30 and then use this card and expect it to work, or use this unit's ability and expect it to work. You have to be gaining the life. That's the trick with life gain. So if you were at 30 health and you activated a card to give your hero health, it's not going to proc his ability. You need to be at 29 or less. Tsuruhime is a new human unit. When your hero gains life, give all friendly green units +1 attack. So that works for all green units on the field. Same thing. You have to be gaining that life back. So you have to be getting that back. I run her at 3. Then there's Ultra Lady Karen. Agility Ascended +2/+2, and she inflicts seal on the unit in front. This is my only seal unit in the deck. I haven't needed much of it, but the key here is she gets buff and agility. So it's like a little bit of more of aggressive type card. Itsuki. It's an Ascend unit we got last set. She has Heavy Pierce and Crush. So she has built-in Heavy Pierce and Ascend, and she gains +2/+3. You don't really need to Ascend her with this build. It's nice if you can Ascend her over that or the layer. but you don't have to with all the HP you're going to be getting out and gaining. Chosokabe Motochika is the next unit, and when played, he explores for the Rising Sun, and while he's on the field, he gives machine units in your hand and EX pocket -1. The Rising Sun's really interesting. So it's an explored for a unit, and it's heavy pierce, crush, and spillover, and it cannot counter, but when placed on the field, it's removed from the game after 45 seconds. So you got 45 seconds of this guy going down the middle with heavy pierce, crush, and spillover. And on top of a life gain, the idea is to get him even buffer, so he's clearing the field for you as he hits the middle. Eastern Light Ieyasu is the next one. He's a new legendary. He has agility. When placed on the field, he's halted for 13 seconds. After that halt, he gains +2 attack. And his attacking, he distributes equal points to friendly units on the field, to your hero's life, and friendly units' HP. So he gives your units HP. He gives you HP as he's attacking, equal to the amount of units you have on the field. So he's an attacking buff, like living attacking buff for your health and your units if you have things like Bell Guardian and Tsuruhime on the field. Otohime is another new card. She has shield, and when played, if your hero's life is 20 or higher, she gains MP boost 30. So again, she's an early game drop or mid game drop when you still have 20 or more health, and then she's an MP unit. She's an MP battery, which is nice because she's above most of the common destructions in the deck, and she also has shield. And then her secondary ability is when your hero is taking damage, she gains +1 HP. So that works in consorts with this deck, as she gets buffer as you're getting weaker, and then you just use your life gain cards to gain all that life back, and she still has all that HP. Water Dragon is a late game card in this deck. When played, if your hero's life is 15 or lower, you distribute 10 points between your friendly unit's HP and your hero's HP. So you give your hero back, and it also buffs himself and units on the field. When your hero gains life, he gets +1 attack and gains spillover, and the spillover is effective for 1 attack. So you can buff him up, and you can hit hard in the middle, giving him heavy pierce. He can clear things out and do heavy damage. I think at one point I've had him up to like almost a 20-35-ish, and with heavy pierce and spillover. So he's definitely worth it as a late game card. And the new green mammoth unit that everybody plays, and it's super good in any type of green deck, Sengoku Titan Tadakatsu. He has shield and anti-air. He's a 15/12 for 10 MP. And on victory, he does damage to a random enemy unit equal to this unit's HP. Already, that's really good. You block it, you can clear 2 lanes. If you put him down as a block, you can clear 2 board slots at once. While on the field, all action cards that affect this unit become halt this unit for 5 seconds. He cannot be destroyed outside of doing unit destroy in front. The only way you can deal with him is basically a card that says destroy this unit in front, or destroy, that's the only way he can be destroyed, is by a unit that has that effect. And he can't be sealed by seal cards, by disarms, or Ivy Trap. He needs to be a drop seal in front of him, and if you drop seal in front of him, he's a 5/12 coming at your face. And death, it removes this unit from the game. He's a very, very strong card in all green decks. If you can craft one legendary for green out of this set, I would craft this card. This card is changing the way green is played. This card is so powerful. He's able to withstand destroys. He's changing the way destroy decks are building. They're now building in things like the Ascend Akuma are now becoming popular again because of this unit. So he's very, very strong. He's in this deck, he can become a super buff with heavy pierce. Like good night if you can get this guy on board consistently. So that is the deck. Again, things that I'm probably going to switch out, or things in the future as I play with this archetype a little more. Again, this deck, this general version, I'm having a lot of fun with. It's a little bit more challenging. So instead of going over hands after we watch the games, I'm going to kind of go over some tips on how to make sure your life gain is going well. But that's the deck. let's go over. I have the sideboard built. As you can see, I've been building all these other decks. So this is a type of a sideboard that you can use. It's got a lot of the basic greens. You can use block instead of wall jump because wall jump works on all units. So if they happen to copy or steal cards, if they're a different color, they can't use block and it kind of just sits in their hands. A-trans is if you pull, you're not pulling a lot into the X pocket, but you can use this if you're using, what's his name? Chosokabe to get Rising Sun. You can copy Rising Sun. Disarms, you can throw disarms in the deck. There's nothing wrong with that. Beast Cannon could be a buff you use. Evasive actions are always good, especially in the meta where things are getting buffed. You could just reset them. Dreams of Restoration is a really good card too. For this, one, it saves a unit from being destroyed, sealed, etc. 2, it gives you life, 7 life. The only unit this won't work on in the deck is Tadakatsu. It won't work. It'll just halt him. Blade Shattering Defense could always work in this deck too. You could take out Meathead Special and use Blade Shattering Defense instead for an extra shield and some extra HP. Skip the Doll's Memory. Doll's Memory is always good to have in the deck. This deck, you have a little bit more action, so yeah, you could probably use this here. Again, buff your units, erase a unit on the other side of the field. It's always good. For MP batteries, you can use a 3 MP Feline, both of them. For a health gain, you can use Rodrigo, because when he dies, he gives you 5 health. If you want more of a unit on the field that gives health, Mr. Bamboo from the last set is when a friendly unit is placed on the field, your hero gains +2 life. Again, that works if you drop Sudahime and Bell Guardian and this guy. You could just buff the 3 of them and keep buffing them, things like that. Tai is another new unit. He's a beast, and when your hero gains life, he gets +1 attack. Combined with Sudahime, he's getting +2 attack every time your hero heals life. Mr. Flower is another new unit. When played, he gives other friendly units +1 HP, and your hero gains 2 life. You can use him as like a quick block if you want to use it that way. I used him in an early build of this deck, and I didn't like the consistency he brought me, but you can still use him if you don't have some of the other cards. Purifying Sparkling Arrow. I'm a little iffy about putting this in the deck, but it's still playable. I've played it in other builds, and it works just fine. It gives all friendly units +2 HP, and both heroes gain +1 life. You also have... Hold on one second. You also have... Sorry about that. My wife texted me real quick, and I had to take a look. You also have Tadakatsu Power Charge. Gives +1/+2 to a friendly unit. If your hero is 20 life or more, this is where the life gain works in. All other friendly units get +1/+1. Be careful, it does halt. Tadakatsu does get halted by it. Another MP Feline you can drop in there. You could always use Rainy Turtloid. Ascended +3 attack and spillover. Give him Heavy Pierce on top of that. You got a buff unit. That gets buffer and does field clears. Curious Cat Feline can work in here. You got a lot of human units. He gives them the shield, and you start getting the MP boost on top of that. Kaguya is another battery you can use. Again, Iris is another mana battery you can swap in there. Wood Sprite Sakura, you could drop her in here for the buffs. I haven't built it with her yet, but I could see where it would work because it would buff things like Yasu and Tadakatsu and things like that, which would work really well. Take is just another unit you can sub in for something like Itsuki that has Heavy Pierce to drop. Honaganji Kenoyo. Sorry, I can't pronounce it. He has spillover, and he's a 3/6. And if you have Heavy Pierce when he dies, if he has Heavy Pierce on him, which this deck is built around giving units Heavy Pierce, he gives a random friendly unit +2/+2, which is a cool ability. You could always use Kushala Deora. He's going to rotate out at Day of Nightmares. That's why I don't have him in the deck right now. But you could always use him in there to keep the field kind of clear. Armika would work really, really good in this deck because she has high HP to begin with if you drop her early. And then buffing her with Sudahime and Hyaku. And there you go. So that's that. That's the deck and the sideboard. Again, sorry for the little brief pause there. My wife was texting me just trying to figure out what's going on. So let's take a look at a couple games. And then I'm going to try to go over some tips with Lifegain after that. So I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so this first game is going to be against Tengen. Tengen's kind of making a comeback. It's lower cost now. It's been reworked. It works really well. So I start with Choso Kabe in hand and Tsuruhime. So I'm just going to drop him early. I want this guy to start using his Tengen cards to damage me up front, and that's what he's going to do. What's that going to do for me? It's going to open up Tsuruhime to use her ability. And so I'm going to try a little quickie thing here. I'm going to use 7 Soaring. And then I'm going to drop Tsuruhime trying to get some buffs. I didn't get any hero HP, but Chusokabe got it. I'm going to shield out of this. I could have let him basically take this card, but I didn't want to for pressure. And I get another Gota Shuffle in it. So here's now where you're going to see Lifegain go into effect. And just watch how Chusokabe's attack keeps going up as I'm gaining that life. And here you go. I'm going to just make sure this Leon leaves the field. I don't like him on there. That's why I used Hyaku there. I mistimed the deities like by half a second, and that would have actually kept Tsuruhime probably on the field. But we're just going. I'm just trying to get my mana up now. And I drop Rising Sun down below. I didn't have to, but I did anyways to try to just get him out there. I could have saved him for the middle. But right now I'm just saving up for Bell Guardian and another, my other Chusokabe. But then I pulled a Tsuruhime, so that's why I dropped her instead of Chusokabe. And this is how we buff and we keep going. And as you can see, my Bell Guardian's getting buff up top. I use Haiku, and that's the game. Again, people don't expect the Hyaku decks very much because it's not a very played art. Here's against a Devil Breaker. So Devil Breaker is still a good deck. But yeah, so I've been keeping the opening hands. I haven't been changing them because I'm trying to test consistency and how to play out of bad hands. But at this point, I'm just waiting it out because I don't want him to drop a Titsi on my Tsuruhime, which would have happened. So I just waited it out. And I saw I got a Tadakatsu. So I'm just waiting it out here. And again, I'm not using these Lifegain cards yet because I haven't been hit. So, and I decided I'm going to take a chance and drop Takada over the top. And I've taken a hit, which is fine. I don't need to buff here. There's no need for me to do it. And he's just going to burn his shields on this Titsi. Again, which is fine. You like burn the shield in the heroes, or in the seals. And there's where Tadakatsu's effect goes into it there. And I'm just going to leave this middle lane open for a little bit. I want this panda to chip me enough to where I can use these Lifegain cards. But then I use Bell Guardian. I'm like, I'm going to give my heroes some HP here. I want to keep them alive. And if I lose Bell Guardian, that's fine. But watch, Tadakatsu is going to halt himself on that heal, but I got him up to a 715. And then I have Tsuruhime sitting there. So at this point, I could either take damage, leave that panda on the board so he has slow HP, or slow MP, I'm sorry. But I decide to drop my Orihime to keep a mana battery going to charge up. And here we're just cycling, and I use Hyaku. He's going to use Devil Breaker, which is fine. He's going to shield. I don't mind that. Basically, I'm not using Meathead Special at that point because it would have halted my Tadakatsu up top. Next game's against Temptation. And the new Temptation's the new purple is kind of getting... It's pretty good. It relies a lot on flight, which is really good, as always. So I'm basically just waiting him out. I don't want him to steal, but I want to get my MP on board, so I put like a little bait out there. And now I'm just waiting. And the timing was just perfect for that layer to do only the damage to the Palamu, and then I'm kind of stuck with a blue Ogre on the field, and I'm just going to get halted, but I have some health to gain, and I have Tsuruhime on the field, so I'm going to pretty much just life gain to gain some attack, and I'm going to use most of my effects on Itsuki to keep her alive. So, and again, I have Hyaku. I'm not using it yet. I'm kind of just holding on to it. I want to use it at the last moment before a hit, so even if he ascends and it throws off their timing. She does Temptation here, so I'm kind of stuck sitting here taking little chunks of damage. Which again, you can chunk me all you want. I'm going to come back at you harder. I use that card. I use 7 to just kind of work from there and work out of it. So I use 7 there just to work out of it and try to cycle some cards. I get 2 big heavy pierce hits there. And that's pretty much going to finalize everything that goes on here. And that's how that ends. And here's the last game I'm going to show. It's against Shield Spire. And this is going to be the red-green Shield Spire that's very... it's been very tough for people to deal with just because of the protection and then the burn damage and everything going on and the growth. So he's growing right off the bat. He kind of has to. And he's always going to be constantly up at that MP. I decided to drop Tadakatsu right off the bat to try to get something going on here. Of course he shields, which annoys me, but I'm able to take 2 units out with him. And he's going to further drop more. And again, I'm just letting myself get chipped at this point. It doesn't bother me. Tadakatsu's going to take no damage, and he's just going to get hit. I was hoping he would absorb actually all of that, but he didn't. I just buff here. I don't know why. I wasn't paying quite the best attention. But that's how this is going. I don't mind him hitting Tadakatsu on the bottom. I'm going to still get my chip damage in. He loves these shields, obviously. But he's going to try to he's basically going to take out my Tsuruhime right away. But she at least got 1 buff off. It didn't really do anything for me. But now we're just sitting and I'm letting the life build. I'm letting him chip me some more, which is fine. He's chipping me for 2 and 1. And I have cards that can get me back into this. So I'm going right off the bat. I want to keep Bell Guardian around. And I used the buffs out of order. I should have used them the other way there. If I would have used them the other way, I would have got double benefit. I should have used Sapling first and then Shuffle second, because then I would have had the health there. I got 2 Guardians on board and I'm using Deity. So it's going to be a huge health gain. I was hoping for a huge buff, attack buff, but you know, he used his arts there. Screw me over. Hyaku gives me some buff. And now I'm just kind of sitting here. And I'm just waiting it out. I'm taking 1 damage up top, which is not a big deal. I take the opportunity to drop Karen, get some pressure with the heavy pierce. So I'm just kind of putting the pressure on now. He's going to remove her. I have no problem with him removing her. He can't drop anything to further ascend Amaterasu. So I drop Ieyasu. I can't pronounce these names the greatest. I'm sorry. And I drop Tsuruhime up top. Basically, I'm now just going to get to buffing. And you're going to watch how Ieyasu is buffing himself and Tsuruhime and my hero. And that's that. So that's the deck. Super fun. So let's take a look now at some tips so I can help you guys out with that in the future. Okay. So my first tip is going to be take some damage. You do need to take some damage for this deck archetype to work correctly. Notice how I wasn't responding with getting the health gain right off the bat. I'm not responding to his Tengen actions. I'm letting him chip me for damage because I want to be able to get that health gain going. Again, Tsuruhime and Bell Guardian's abilities do not activate if you're at 30 HP. So you got to be below it for their abilities to work and activate. So again, I'm not pressuring myself in order to get these, you know, I'm not healing right off the bat, or I'm saving all my healing for when those 2 units hit the field that benefit from it. So like I said, you could take damage and that's totally fine. That's pretty much my tip number 1, is to take that damage. Okay, so my second tip would be to leave a lane open. You don't have to respond right away to blocking in every single lane. That goes hand in hand with taking damage. Notice throughout most of this, I'm letting him keep attacking on the top lane. I'm not worrying about what's going on up top with Kaguya. I am just literally waiting. And why am I waiting? Is because I'm letting her take my chip damage, and then I'll take my opportunity when it presents itself. I don't need to present it right there. I could block there and be perfectly fine. There's other units I could have dropped there. I could have dropped Tsuruhime as well, but again, you don't need to just let the lane kind of develop. You don't need to drop right off the bat. So again, I let that top lane go, and that's pretty much my tip for that. Is you don't need a lower attack unit that's not affecting your win condition at this moment in time. You can let them go. You see it later in this game as well. I let that 1 MP feline, or 1 attack feline, just basically run this top lane. He's not hurting me at this point. So that's how that goes. That's tip 2, is just leave a lane open if you can to build up your stats for later. And my final tip on this one is, it's a quick tip, but kind of consider cards that work together with the life gain to go along as your kind of beater units. Something like Yasu is very good because he not only gives you life, but he's going to get buff as well. Orihime works around having that extra life to get her battery going, and she works it when you're taking damage. If you don't have enough souls for her, that's okay. But if you had to craft 1 unit that you don't have that's like a epic or higher for this deck, I would go with Orihime. Orihime is so good at just basically, she synergizes with taking damage and then returning, like getting the life gain back. Another unit that is good with synergy with this deck is Water Dragon. This deck really relies on the synergy of every unit and every card pretty much working together. So kind of look for, if you want to substitute in new cards or different cards, look for something that's going to benefit off gaining life. And that's like I was showing in my sideboard, but look for something that's going to gain life, get you life, or protect the unit, things like that, to keep your basically your archetype units on the board. So that's my 3 tips, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. I really enjoyed this deck in this video. Again, I'm going to make future adjustments. I'm going to be laddering with this deck pretty soon once I get those future adjustments done. Not saying I'm not already going to be laddering with this one, but you get what I'm saying. I'm going to be going in and taking it in. Unfortunately, I haven't really fought against a meta black deck. I've been fighting these, these offshoots that are based around Super Destroy or things like that. But this is going to be a toss-up against black because of their removal abilities. You just have to try to decide which units can go and which units you can let them destroy and which ones you want to protect. Also against Burn Red, it's doing really well just because of the HP in general. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back next week with the Day of Nightmares less antibody deck, and you guys take care.